Hello, Ben here. Hope you're all fantastico, and welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast. My guest this week is the actor Richard Meek. Richard appears opposite Joan Collins and Isabella Rossellini in the upcoming movie The Bitter End, directed by Mike Newell. His theatre credits include Bob Lord in the UK premiere of Becoming Nancy at Birmingham Rep, directed by two-time Tony Award winner Jerry Mitchell, Corny Collins in the UK tour of Hairspray, and Sir Galahad in Monty Python's Spamalot, plus Joe in the workshop production of Sugar, Some Like It Hot. Richard has a long association with the director Chris Luscombe, starring globally as Frankenfurter and Brad Majors in Richard O'Brien's hit musical The Rocky Horror Show. In this episode we discuss kindness, self-confidence and taking pleasure in the simple things. And Richard shares highlights of his career on stage and screen, from the joy and community of The Rocky Horror Show to filming the upcoming movie The Bitter End.
It was so much fun. Everyone was amazing. And I'm like a massive Joan Collins fan. I've literally spent the last 2 or 3 years listening to all of her audiobooks. I was like, I think I've manifested this somehow because it was unreal. It was like, pinch me. How can this be real? I remember driving home after I finished filming, just staring out the window thinking, did this all just happen? Like, I can't, amazing.
He's talented, lovely, and my word, a bloomin' handsome devil. Welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast, Richard Meek. Good morning, Richard. How are you?
That was fun to listen to.
You're looking so good. It's pretty warm at the moment, isn't it?
I am low-key, like 70% heat stroke right now. I didn't even blow dry the hair this morning. It was literally like, get it off my face. I've got a fan going in the background. Hopefully that's not too distracting, but...
Well, hopefully when the hair dries... When the hair dries with the fan, we'll be getting a bit of Janet Jackson on the go, mid-chat. It's so lovely to see. How's your morning been? Do you have a nice little kind of set routine to your morning when you're at home?
Yeah, well, at the moment, the morning wake-up is completely structured around what time Bob, my pug, decides that he is ready to get up. Younger Bob would be kind of, you could come downstairs at 8, and then by 11, you're like, should we go and wake the dog up? Older Bob, he's now nearly 14, is very much... about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock vibes. So, yeah. But I'm an early bird anyway. My dad's an early bird. So I like to get up and have a coffee early in the morning and just sort of, particularly at the moment when it's so hot, it's the only time that you can get all the windows and doors open and and just relax before the day begins.
Yeah, I love getting up early. I can get so much done by, 11s. It's unreal, really, isn't it?
Yeah. The only problem with that is that you're usually like ready for your dinner by about 11. You're thinking, I've had all 3 meals before midday.
Oh, but the joy of being a dog owner, it's wonderful, isn't it? We've got little Betty, our cocker spaniel, and if I'm feeling a bit low or blue, just a little walk with them, it's just such a nice little boost, isn't it? It's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I got Bob when I turned 30, and he's toured, everywhere with me. So he even came to Paris last year, and when I was in the Lido with Rocky Horror. We had to drive over because you can't take them over on anything else. So I drove him to Paris with me. We had a lovely, which is incidentally where I bought him in Paris many years ago. But yeah, he is as well known as I am on the circuit, for sure. Yeah.
Did Bob have a little beret? Did he go that far?
Yes. Yes. I pre-bought it on Amazon. Of course, I had a small beret, and which you can find on my Instagram at some point. But if you can scroll down, there'll be a picture of Bob sort of on a bed like that.
Richard, you are flying this year. My goodness, your latest project, the movie directed by Mike Newell for Weddings and a Funeral, The Bitter End with Joan Collins and Isabella Rossellini. One word, wow! How was that experience for you? My goodness.
It was just like, it's still a little bit like a dream, like completely unreal, because up until that point, I've been working in the industry since over 20 years, and I'd never made anything on film, nothing at all. So I sort of was thinking, oh, one day something might happen. And and I was approached by Paul Robinson, like actor, director, choreographer, model, you name it, and he's wonderful. And he approached me about taping for it. And it turns out, this is like a really good lesson for people. I did Producers International Tour, I don't know, 2018, 19, I can't really remember now. We did a lot of China. And I always say it's like my best showcase that nobody ever saw because I was so far away.
Yeah.
He was in Shanghai and he came and watched me as Leo Bloom in The Producers 8 years ago, and I sprung into his head when he was reaching out to people to tape. So it really can happen that, you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
So yeah, I taped for it, and I just instinctively, went for it. Jackie Clune was doing On a Rater at the time. She read in with me as Joan Collins.
Fantastic.
It was so much fun. Everyone was amazing. It was just amazing. And I'm like a massive Joan Collins fan. I've literally spent the last 2 or 3 years listening to all of her audiobooks, as in her all her autobiographical stuff. I was like, I think I've manifested this somehow, because it was unreal. It was like, pinch me. How can this be real? I remember driving home after I'd finished filming, just staring out the window thinking, did this all just happen?
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it, this business? Because you work so hard to get an opportunity, then you throw yourself into it, and it's all systems go, isn't it? And often once it's done and in the can, or you finished a production or a tour, it's like, gosh, did that happen? It's like a parallel universe sometimes, isn't it? When you get back to kind of home life.
Yeah, and it's so different. Like, as I'm doing other things on film at the moment. With like theatre, you rehearse it, and then you live it over and over again, but it's always fresh and always real, and you got one time to do it. Whereas in film, it's so quick, and and you think, you don't finish like you finish a year tour and you think it's ingrained memory, because you've done it so many times, you've lived it everywhere. With like film, it was like a snatched moment, and then it's gone. You think, oh my God, well, that's it now, but it will be there forever. But it happened so quickly. And then don't even get me started on Isabella Rossellini, and her lineage, and her parents and her performances. And she was just the nicest, because when she was on set with me, she was doing a big scene, and it was going to and fro, and she was broken before me. And she sort of tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around and said, I just want to say I've been broken now, but it was really wonderful to work with you, and I'll see you soon. And I was like, what? Just, everything lived up to what I would hope. The whole experience, the whole team. We had the wrap party recently, and everyone was saying the same thing. Like, just the vibe of the whole process was just. Louise Fennell's written an amazing script. She's her daughter is Emerald Fennell, so she's they're amazing. So, and they've all been so lovely, and they've all corresponded with me, lovely, beautiful messages after I finished, and it was just an absolute dream. I can't tell you.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch. I'm so excited. 2 things I'd love to just pick up on, Richard. Firstly, you mentioned Paul Robinson there, seeing you in a production, miles and miles away. It's very easy sometimes when you're on tour and feeling a bit sluggish and lethargic to kind of not phone in a performance, but think, oh, I'm just going to get through this, But like you said, I love the fact that you said that you just never know who's watching. And also, secondly, just the kindness shown to you on set and the etiquette, the courtesy from Isabella Rossellini, that it doesn't take anything just to, whatever pay grade you are or experience you have in the creative world, in any world almost, just to make sure you recognise somebody's skill and, just give someone a pat on the back. I think it's so lovely and can give you such a little boost, can't it?
Isabella's heritage and what she's learned from her parents in the movie industry, obviously about how you are with other actors around you. It's just like egoless getting on with the job. And then, I would never have thought that she would come over and say thank you and everything. Like, I would be thinking, I want to go over and say, now a warning, like a quote from Death Becomes Her or something. But, so for her to come over and say that was just, But, it's about extending that in our world as well. And etiquette is so important. And, it isn't everywhere these days. General etiquette in the workplace, in theatre, I find. So to see it and continue it, I think is really important.
You touched on the Rocky Horror Show there. You've worked with the wonderful director Chris Luscombe. What a wonderful chap he is. What a juggernaut of joy that show is. I saw you in Canterbury at the Marlowe play Brad, and you were wonderful, of course, rocking the specs. You played Frankenfurter, Dr. Scott. The success of that show is crazy, isn't it? It's almost like that evening in the theatre, it was a chance for people just escape for 2.5 hours, and it was just a really electric night at the theatre. Was it brilliant to be part of?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it's such a huge part of my life. I first played Brad when I was 23, I think I might have been. And I most recently played him when I jumped back after 8 years to not 8 years, sorry, when I jumped back
Yeah.
to help out. I was 42. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and it's an
Yeah.
amazing family, and it's all about, it's not just about the show, it's about the people you meet along the way, and like the Rocky Horror fandom and the family of people that you see and come back, and then they come and support you in other shows and everything as well. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And these people, they just really enthuse about the production, and they are so supportive, aren't they? Like, I think they do a lot of credit. I love the fact that, with West End Live events like that, there's like a huge fan base for musicals, and ultimately just people love feeling good and celebrating the joy of music and musicals in general, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, and the fact that it's been going for so long is because, I mean, that it can be marketed as like the best party night ever kind of thing,
Yeah.
but it's so much more than that. It's so much about expression and freedom and joy and acceptance, which is why, like, I meet people at stage door or before the show, and it will be like a great auntie or something bringing along a nephew or something, and they're like, well, I've never seen the show before. I'm Rocky Horror Virgin, and I'm like, it won't be the first time, because everybody falls in love with it because every time is different. That's why so many people return.
Yeah.
Obviously, the scripts is the same and the story is the same, but the interaction and the energy in the room is different every night, which is how I was able to keep popping back in. Actually, the last stint I did was just over a year and a half, and that's the most I'd ever done. And that was after an 8-year gap. I've done like 6 months, 3 months, jumping in and things like that, which has been amazing. But that was amazing to do, like a big, and we really went all over the place with it. And we did my journey in Paris at the Lido, which was amazing to be in such an iconic city and an iconic venue. Yeah.
Well, I bet the show really fit that venue beautifully.
Oh yeah, I mean, interesting. It was like a thrust stage, so we had to like redesign everything because we had people on like three sides. But it was the intimacy of having that room. Because when we did it in town many years ago, we're at the Playhouse, which is a gorgeous venue for it. Yeah, it really has been the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
And working with Chris, I also did Spam a lot with Chris as well, which was amazing. And that actually hankers back to what you said about you never know who's watching, because Chris Laskin was like the king of, you finish a show and then you hear hello and you think, ugh, he was watching secretly. But you've got to be, sometimes when you're absolutely exhausted or when it's really hot and you think, oh, give it a clean 85% today, or because you've got to work with your stamina and everything. But you always have to behave like your directors come to do a show watch.
Yeah.
Because, the integrity of it is so important. I mean, I'm all for having fun, and that kind of show. I think with Rocky Horror particularly, it can be so chaotic with what's happening in the audience that if you were to play up on stage, the whole thing would lose its integrity, and it's so important, to keep. And it's so quick and it's so short. You have to be. It's almost too much fun going on out front to do anything on stage, because you just need to do your job, really.
And also the wit and the beauty of Richard O'Brien's score. There's some beautiful melodies in there. The Brad's number, which I'd never heard before, which you nailed. I was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. And some of Frank's as well. I just thought, this is really beautiful to listen to. It must be lovely to sing as well.
Oh, lovely. I feel like I'm like the ballad king. Like, give me a ballad, I'm happy. Richard wrote Once in a While. He was actually years ago, when he used to live in, I think, Vauxhall or somewhere like that. We did Wimbledon, and he used to you just look in the wings sometimes at the end. He'd be there, and he'd come on, and we'd do like reprises and all sorts. But in Wimbledon, he did the usherette at the top and end of the show.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Full drag with an electric guitar. So I used to get the train home with him most nights. And he said that he was actually teaching, I think, his housemate to play the guitar and was just playing these chords. And that's where Once in a While arrived from. And it was filmed for the movie, but it was cut. So it does exist in the, I guess, special features.
Yeah.
But it's not known as part. So it's a tricky moment in the show because there's been so much chaos and joy and all this that to then bring it down to a sad, beautiful ballad that no one knows can be really challenging in certain venues. You just have to really pray, that you're on good terms with the sound.
Yeah, always be good to the sound. Always be good to your sound number 3, because in a few years they're going to be mixing your vocal, aren't they? That's what I found. My goodness.
Well, nowadays it's like 6 months from now because everything changes so quickly.
You mentioned having to slightly tweak the staging when you were in Paris with the show. Similarly, you filmed the production, didn't you, when you were in London for cinema use across Europe? Was there things you had to change for that? How did that work?
So that was one of those ones where I hadn't done it for 4 or 5 years. Previous to that, in I think 2013, the guy playing Eddie Dr. Scott had injured his back and was going to have a few weeks off to heal. Chris Lusker messaged and said, "Would you consider coming back and doing Eddie Dr. Scott?" And I was like, "Absolutely not! Like, no, absolutely not." And he was like, "Think of it like an acting challenge." And I thought, "Oh, okay, right, let's do it." It's only 3 weeks. It ended up being 3 months. But it was fun. It was very weird coming back and doing a part that I hadn't played before. But, Chris knew that I knew the show really well. I could jump in quite quickly. And I think that production ended. And then several years later, they put it back in. When they put it into town, Ben Forster had already played it at that point. So they asked Ben and Hayley and other people to do that. And I got asked to do Eddie Dr. Scott, which was sort of challenging in a way, not playing the part that I feel like I would want to be playing, but getting to be a part of the history of it and get it immortalized on screen was kind of... I still cringe a little bit actually when I watch it because I don't see myself as an Eddie Dr. Scott. So I feel a bit like that, but I'm still proud of it. It's just different, but we just sort of rehearsed it. We had David Badella back and everything. It was amazing. Yeah. And we had all the guest narrators, Richard and Stephen Fry and Emma Bunton and Mel Giedroyc and it was Anthony Head. Oh, it was wild. And we had like cranes in and all this kind of stuff. And we did like one rehearsal and then we did it all live into cinemas. It wasn't like pre-filmed. It was a live one take wonder. So that was quite high pressure.
Yeah, the adrenaline must have been pumping and you must have felt exhausted after that, I imagine.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because like finishing and then getting tagged in loads of like crazy things from friends all around the country and it aired in BBC America and all this kind of stuff, and I think it exists somewhere now that you can watch clips of it. Often when people I know over the years have been auditioning, I'll get like a random message saying, is that you? Have I just seen this? And I'm like, yes.
Before filming the Bitter End, Richard, you were in Becoming Nancy at the UK premiere of Becoming Nancy at Birmingham Rep. Lovely venue. I think I'm a Brummie boy, so I've seen various shows there over the years as a young guy, just feeling my way into the business at the Birmingham Rep. Great venue, but working with Jerry Mitchell on that show, that must have been fantastic and a beautiful show, kind of covering the beauty of first love, really. Was that lovely to be part of something so new?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. It was like a bucket list to work with Jerry. Always has been. And the story, the music, the songs, everything. I mean, the team behind the music, we had Styles and Drew, we had, Terry Ronald, we had Steve Anderson, Elliot Dale. I mean, it was like they'd already released a couple of the tracks before we started rehearsals, which I'd become completely obsessed with. I think a lot of people loved those songs. The team were amazing. It was interesting because it was really almost like triggering for me because I grew up in that era where no education about being gay. It's set like 10 years before me. Not wanting to come out to your family, not wanting to come out to your dad and being worried about their reaction and falling in love with the straight boy. And I mean, God, the character I played was horrendously awful, racist, homophobic, sexist PE teacher who just trying to ruin his life. So it was like all this joy and love happening on stage, and I'd be in the wings like with a single tear dropping down my cheek about these beautiful moments. Then I would come on and like eviscerate him in front of his parents and out him to his family. I mean, it was really amazing story. And to be as a married, I used to come out stage door and be like, I'm nice, really, I'm a gay married man,
Yeah.
I'm not a horrible person, but from my generation, certainly, it was so relatable. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. The company were amazing. I just loved it. I really, really loved every minute of it.
Did you find it was easier once you'd moved from Norfolk, Richard, to drama school to study, easing your way into the business? Did that help you have the confidence to kind of cope with life and kind of informing your family? Just did being in this lovely, safe environment that theatre gives us, did that help you during that period, do you think?
I mean, it helped me discover who I was, but I didn't have the confidence to come out to my family until I was 30.
Right.
I'd managed to I moved away from home when I was 16 to go to college to study, and I stayed there for like 5 or 6 years. And I came to terms with my sexuality then, but not to my family, because I lived away. I lived in college residence Monday to Friday, and then when I was about 18, I moved into my own place. I was able to, segment who I was and just not give anything away. But that was definitely to my detriment, because when I got into the industry, I was so afraid that somebody would out me to my parents that I would send them off at the end of a show. I wouldn't bring them to the press night because I was so scared. And with hindsight, they must have felt like I didn't want them to be there, or when I did, I was just afraid. And it wasn't until I was 30 and I went to do Starlight in Germany, and I had a partner, we moved in together, and they were coming over to visit. I thought, 30 years old, I can't. So it was really, I wrote a letter to my dad and left it and came back to Germany. And it was difficult. It was really difficult.
Yeah.
But now I feel like, God, I really should have given him the benefit. I underestimated my dad and how he would be. My own imagining of what it would be like reflected how and when I told him. And actually, as it transpires, he was more upset at the fact that I felt I couldn't tell him than that I had told him. And now, my husband is like the number one son. And, my dad loves it. And I can, I can't wait for them to come and see everything. And I want them everyone loves them. And I want to come and watch this and come be a part of this. And because I still feel like shame and guilt about, them having a jolly old time, then me going, right, off you go then, bye. Like I feel sick about it when I talk about it.
Yeah. But how proud must they be of you, Richard? All this success, it's just joyous, and I really hope that you just feel so wonderful sharing that with them now. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, we got married last year, and I never thought, just it's a learning. It was interesting when I first came out, because it was like my dad then went into the closet because he didn't want to. He was afraid to talk to his friends about it and all that kind of stuff, because my dad's a lorry driver, and he used to be a boxer when he was younger and all that kind of stuff. So it's that world. But it's been a really amazing learning process for him and for everyone as well. Yeah, and everyone loves my parents, and my dad particularly. He's a fool. He's a bit like me. That's where I got my singing voice from as well. Actually, interestingly, all on my dad's side, my great grandmother was a silent pianist for the movies, and I think a great auntie was a Russian ballerina.
My goodness.
Yeah, so I think, and my dad sings all the time. He's an amazing whistler as well. He's like, I can whistle, but I can't whistle high. My dad can do all the flourishes.
He's got the range.
He's got the range. Yeah, I think if he could ever remember words, he would have sung a lot more. But he can't ever remember the words. He's like a classic, get the words wrong type person.
I'm just hopeless with lyrics. I make up all sorts. So
his
my
most
goodness.
iconic mistake was, last night a DJ killed my wife. I was like, no.
Yeah, it's not quite that violent a song. We mentioned at the start of the chat. I mean, well, you are officially. This will make you blush, but you are. I know it's hot, but you are one handsome devil. My goodness, You look so good, and you were my hair inspiration. Like, I'm sure a load of my listeners know that I had my hair transplant 2 years ago, but you must have been one of the first people I know of who was so enthusiastic about it, enthused about their treatment. And my goodness,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but it has given me such a lovely boost that I just can't stop talking about it. Just that inner confidence. I know we're in the business,
Yeah.
we put ourselves up there to be looked at, but there's something just really lovely about looking in the mirror now and thinking, oh my God, I've got hair.
Yes. Oh, I mean, I always had loads of big, crazy curly hair and everything. And then when I turned 30, funnily enough, it worked. It was after I'd come out, and I felt this huge exhilaration. In fact, I think I might have even done it the day I got back after I left a letter at home, then flew back to Germany. I was in Starlight. I think I might have shaved my hair that day. And I remember thinking I would have that perfect crop. And I remember thinking it's a little bit thinner on top. Like I wasn't. That's not what I was expecting. And from that matches onwards, I noticed like it was hideable, but there was I never receded or anything. I just started to lose bits,
Yeah.
like thinning and like all that kind of stuff. And it got to the point where I can remember in my dressing room in Rocky and like crying in the half, trying to get the hair right and hide it because, and I remember getting a note for the bed scene that I needed to stop using what I was using in my hair because it was staining the pillows. And
Oh,
I was just felt completely lost. And then when I was in Thoroughly Modern Millie, we had a week off, 2 weeks off. And I just thought, I'm going to do it because at the time, this is like 8 or 9 years ago now, I think, it felt like hair transplants were for well, I'm middle aged, I guess now, but a bit like Wall Street kind of a rich businessmen who are having a
yeah.
break and want to get a young girlfriend and drive a sports car. Honestly, that kind of thing. You see these awful pictures of like people with plugs and all this kind
Yeah.
of stuff,
God,
and
yeah.
sparring and all this kind of thing. But I spoke to a couple of people who've been to this one particular place I went to. I mean, I would never be able to find anywhere because it's saturated with hair
Yeah.
places in Turkey, which is the best place to go, I think. And I was working on Thoroughly Modern Millie, directed by Raki Plews. And I messaged her and I said, if I got a hair transplant and I had to shave my head, if I supplied my own wig, would that be okay? Because I was in a show at the time. And she was
Yeah.
like, I fully support you in anything you want to do. I got in touch with Darren Ware, like a wig legend. And he said, come to a stage door of, I think they were at the Coliseum or something.
Yeah.
I'll see what I've got for you. And he got a bag out of like his wigs, fitted one on me and said, I'll post it to your stage door in a week and then give it back to you when you're finished. And I had a beautiful, and I went over and got my hair transplant, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Oh.
Because it was like crossing off one thing that I'm obsessive and stressed about and gave me misery, truly gave me misery. Yeah, and I'm evangelical about it. I really am. I just think, I mean, I talked about it a lot when I first did it. No one was talking about it at all. It was very much a secret thing if you did it. I mean, I've had conversations with so many people in the business who I've then referred over to this place. And some people talk about it and others you would never know. These people in different varying positions within the industry, not just on stage, backstage, in the pit, stuff, have change their lives. And I just say, do it. Don't waste any time. The sooner you're done, the sooner you can start shedding and healing and you'll be like, oh my God, well,
It's life changing, isn't it?
And I was like, can you imagine me like stressing about having a quiff if I was like doing spectacles and stuff? And my husband used to be so stressed because I used to try everything I could, and he'd be like, the whole place is filled with your hair fibers everywhere, kind of thing. But
well, likewise, Richard, Rita used to hate them. Like they'd be the stain of I'd go for. I think I went for a dark brown hair fibre. So of course there'd be this dark brown halo on our headboard, and it was the bane of her life. And I just hated. It was always a thing. Like I got ready, even if I had a nice shirt for a night out, or felt good, then I'd have to put these fibres on, and thinking, oh, it doesn't look too bad. Then looking back at photos, like it just looked awful and was.
It's like you have to get the hair just right. Oh God, is this working? Is that right? And then you have to freeze it like a statue so that it won't be, nothing will go wrong and no one can tell. And that's really like.
Oh, yeah, it does just drain you, doesn't it?
What it's done now is I'm sort of very much in the mind of like, yes, if it starts to thin now, I am in my 40s. It's given me a whole different perspective on hair. Actually, I feel like at the moment I'm just gagging for someone to say, right, we need to shave your head. Hair is white. My hair is like 90% grey white,
Oh,
and I cycle of dyeing it since I was 19.
yeah. But it's like I'm a bit salt and pepper around the sides of my beard, and yeah, but I'd be quite happy if this was grey. But it's funny because it comes from the back of the head, doesn't it?
See, the sides of my hair are
Yeah.
really white,
Oh,
and
okay,
I
right.
haven't let my hair grow out since I had my transplant 8 or 9 years ago. So I can, and then I left it for 6, 7 months, and it was really salt and pepper. And 8 or 9 years later, so I can only imagine.
But it is hard to explain, isn't it? Just like it would properly make me really low when I saw my hairline sort of go further and further back. I remember I was in a show, I think it was Mamma Mia on tour, and that time came where, if you know your musicals, the head mic usually comes through the hairline or through the wig and just sits in the hairline. And the moment came where the sound guy, sure enough came and they put it on the ear, the little wire to go over your ear, and they were like, I was like, is it obvious? He was like, yeah, it's time we have to do this. And I was properly crushed.
Yeah, well, see, for me, I would rather this because I'm like, not clip anything into
Oh,
my hair. I paid a lot of money for these follicles because it really does tear your hair out.
yeah, well, I was worried the first post-transplant, my first year, I was in my first Dame in Panto, Richard, and I was worried about, the weight of the wigs. So my surgeon assured me that, the hair's locked in, it's fine. But yeah, I'm still very careful though, very careful.
10 days after I had my hair transplant, I was wig capped with a mic and wig in a show, straight like so. Once it's in, it's in. I ended up having in other jobs I've done when it has to be fed through the hair because the hair was fed through the hair that's what pushed me into having the transplant because how do you set your hair but then put so things that no one would ever think about, and then it's like now change hats and do this, you think about I can't take the mic out because my hair, I'm pretending that I've got hair.
Yeah.
So I got eventually got the sound guys in a couple of jobs I've done where it's had to be through to create, it's like a very thin piece of wire that the mic is attached to, so then I can sit it on through the hair and tape it to the front and the back without clipping into my hair.
Good shout.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that one. That's a good tip.
That's all
You
you need.
mentioned your lovely husband and your lovely dog. I'm sure they make you blissfully happy. What is your kind of happy place with them? Is it just at home relaxing, or out on a lovely walk? What kind of makes you happy between jobs? Is there a little go-to where you think, and now I can breathe?
Yeah, well, Adam, my husband, is from the Isle of Man. So whenever we get the opportunity to, we go over there. He's a coastal boy, by the sea. And so that's our place there. And I'm from Norfolk, and I grew up. We've got a caravan on the seafront, which was my parents. My mum was a child, so they've been in the family for like 60
Oh,
years.
wow.
The plot, anyway. So our like go-to happy place is by the sea. Either get to the Isle of Man or get to Norfolk and just in the middle of nowhere kind of vibes by the sea. Happiest walking. I'm not an out and about. It takes me a lot to go out and meet people and
Yeah.
do nighty out things. I'm quite introvert, really, so I'm much happier to be wandering, getting lost in a forest, or actually sometimes
Yeah.
whenever I go into London, I tend to go to London Bridge, for example, and I'll walk into town, just taking a left, taking a right, just enjoying. Like I love a mooch.
Yeah. Oh, I love a mooch and a potter. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. I found that as well. The hair transplant was the catalyst to me knocking the booze on the head. That because you have to stop. I had to stop for 4 weeks post transplant, and I always thought it was the party boy, life and soul. But being on tour, you know what that's like. My goodness. But actually, the peace I have now of just feeling completely myself, feeling confident in my looks because of the hair transplant, my anxiety's dipped. That likewise, I love nothing better than just being at home with Rita and Betty, our little dog, and just having that peace and quiet. Like a big room of people, it's just, it can really drain me.
When I tell you I have to be convinced not to go up to bed and read my book at 8:30 p.m., I'm not exaggerating. Like my happy place is because I only I read a lot. I really read a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I collect books. I've got books like everywhere you look. There's books.
Look,
Yeah, this is just my
shelves
time.
of books above you there,
I've
Richard.
got I've got like I've probably got about 600 books. I think I counted them when I I've been, between jobs, so I alphabetized my bookcase.
Love it.
I only buy secondhand as well, but for me, like, unless I'm traveling a lot, then I read. But for me, my sanctuary is like getting in bed. I've got a little light, and I just get lost in books. So yeah, and and if you take me somewhere, like, someone on tour might go to like a really awful town or something, I'm thinking, bet there's about 10 charity shops here, and I'll be like, I couldn't be happier. Buy my records, I'll come back with 10 books and then sneak them in because my husband gets absolutely irate, starting to like put them everywhere, hiding them. And yeah, I love my books.
Well, I guess you'll be diving into a few because it looks like the rest of your year is pretty busy by the sounds of it.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm filming something. I'm filming a TV next week. It's only a day filming, but then I start rehearsals for a tour end of September, and that's running until I think the end of July. So, I mean, I really should get a Kindle so that I don't have to take all my books with me. But I just can't. I have to, like, I don't even bother taking books with me anymore because I know full well that I will come home from each venue with generally about 5 or 6 books a week, because I am really good. I don't just go, oh, that looks fun. I'm usually like collecting a series of something, or I'm really interested in that particular person, so it makes it more fun to search. I'd rather be in a charity shop with like one shelf of books than like a bookshop, because I can't facilitate, my brain can't handle it. I'd rather the joy of going, oh my god, look what I found, than knowing it will be there. If not, I would just have a house of books, which I think in my head I'm thinking one day I'll live in a place where I'll have a library. I don't want to get rid of any books because I want to put them all somewhere. I mean,
Richard, it's been so lovely to chat to you, and my goodness, you are one busy sausage. You are flying, and it's just been so lovely to have a wonderful, happy chat with you. Richard Meek, thank you so much for joining me on Benjy's Cafe podcast.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Benjy's Cafe podcast. Isn't Richard just a super chap? Don't forget, a fresh new episode drops every Tuesday. Just find us wherever you get your podcasts. Give Benjy's Cafe a follow so every episode gets sent straight to your phone. Just another quick reminder, the British Podcast Awards are on the horizon, so if you can, please vote for Benjy's Cafe podcast for the Listener's Choice Award. Just visit britishpodcastawards.com/voting. Pop in Benjy's Cafe and bosh, done. Thank you all so much, and if you voted already, thank you. Next week I'm joined by the voice of Saracens Rugby, MC, singer and super dad, the brilliant Simon Greenhill. I'll get the kettle on. Have a great day.